Hi folks, Ron here for Friday, October the 13th, 2023. My oh my, what a week of events. And the biggest of all was today, Friday. I'm not going to get into the international thing. I think that's being handled both in the Ukraine and in the Middle East. But today, the Canadian Supreme Court dropped a bombshell on the federal government with their ruling on the Impact Environmentalist Act. That act was one that was designed to create so many roadblocks for so many different projects, and in Canada is to be unbelievable. It made it impossible to do any major projects. Who in the heck knows what the impact of a project is going to be 50 years out? And that's what the feds wanted to know. So anyway, that's been ruled unconstitutional. Hey, that's great. Which goes really nice with what the other things I was talking about here in with my clients this week. I'd let you know about the lady at the Canadian Nuclear Safety Commission, and what she was talking about a grid. Well, I actually met a guy who designs and builds small modular reactors, thorium based, and with molten salt to cool. Fantastic. He and I are going to get together later on. I'm going to report on this later on. But it's amazing because we're of like mind on all of this stuff, where there'd be an Alberta grid and a Saskatchewan grid, which would be very, very critical to the future of both provinces as a supply of cheap energy. And that is just amazing stuff. It's just really, really cool. Now, one of the things that we were talking about as well was water. Water is a huge problem on the prairies. And we've been getting our water from glaciers. And the glaciers, of course, 15,000 years ago, the ice sheets melted, leaving behind some glaciers. Now, the glaciers melt, and they've been melting for 13,000 years. And it's pretty steady. It's just like clockwork. It's amazing. They give off a certain amount of melt every year. It's amazing. The thing about that is that this year we had last winter we had a snowpack that was very low, and because of the low snowpack, we were relying on our glaciers to provide us with drinking water. And this year we're short. We had to go on water restrictions, and that's really, really unusual here in Alberta, and in fact southern Alberta and the prairies. We were short of water, a lot of water. Now, fortunately, under the Rocky Mountains, you know, those great big Rocky Mountains, the Rocky Mountains have rock on top, coal, and then a massive aquifer underneath. And the aquifer comes from when the ice sheets melted 15,000 years ago. So there's a huge, huge, massive, incredibly long aquifer under the Rocky Mountains. It's blow your mind away. And so we're going to have to tap into that. That's where the small modular reactors are going to be a key role in that, in basically putting in a series of desalination plants, which can basically be buried in the ground, and you can just, you wouldn't even know they were there. Except there's one issue, and that issue is, what do you do with all the gunk that comes out from underneath? And you think, well, it's salt. What is it? What's in there? Turns out, get this, it's full of lithium, cobalt, and every other rare earth element you can imagine. Basically, desalination equals a massive mining project of the Rocky Mountains. Oh, does it get any better? Well, yeah, of course. Just to keep things in equilibrium, it's possible to then water all of the prairies from the Rocky Mountains all the way to Ontario. And we can put a lot more land into agricultural production. And then by doing so, it's going to modify the climate. Now, people are going to say, well, what about that aquifer? It's not going to last forever. Well, and they're right. You can't, even as big as it is, you can eventually drain it. So what you do is you lay out a great big hose in the Pacific Ocean and you pump Pacific Ocean water down into the aquifer on the west side of the Rocky Mountains. That way, what you're doing is creating a massive pump. Just like the rain cycle is in play in North America. The rain comes off the ocean, gets dropped as rain, and it flows back through it, waters everything, and flows back into the oceans. So that cycle, good, we're making a new one. And it could be very, very, very beneficial for all concerned. And in fact, probably, I would think, after knowing what happened around the Bennett Dam, when it modified the local climate, I think that if we end up irrigating the prairies to the extent that I think is possible, we're going to modify those harsh winters in the prairies. Possibly. I'm not an expert. I'm guessing. You guys tell me. What do you think?